On your Thursday episode of Locked On Raptors, we dig into how the Toronto Raptors' greatest strength proved to be their undoing against the New York Knicks.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the number one sports podcast network in the land. It is Thursday, January the 29th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can follow my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. As always, come be part of our listener community over there. We're off and running here on your Thursday edition of the show, breaking down a 119-92 loss to the dastardly New York Knicks, who just keep on having the Toronto Raptors number over the last couple of years. What, 2023? January 2023 is the last time they picked up a win over the Knicks. Not ideal for an in-division rival and opponent. And we'll get into why the Raptors lost this game and why I think it all kind of came unspooled, because the thing they do the best forced the Knicks to do some stuff the Raptors simply weren't prepared to stop. We'll get into that in a little bit. We will also get into the Raptors' 1-9 record against the top four seeds in the respective conferences. Does that matter at all? Is that a really big, nasty thing to be concerned about? Or is it kind of just a thing that exists that is to be expected? Well, we'll kind of dig into that a little bit. We got the good, the bad, and coming up later on as well. But let's get into where the Raptors lost this game. And look, early on, it looked like the Raptors were about to punk the Knicks. The Knicks coming in on a back-to-back, not looking particularly sharp early on. And the Raptors' defense was absolutely incredible in the first quarter of this game. The Knicks are a very good offensive team, and the Raptors made them look hapless in that first quarter. And I think the two biggest reasons for that, and their sort of combination, is, to me, the greatest strength this team even has, is Scottie Barnes plus Collin Murray-Boyles. The way they can tag team on defense and kind of fill in all kinds of gaps for you, play all kinds of coverages. And in particular, in this game, the way they guarded Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns was unbelievable, frankly. The two of them together defending that typically deadly pick and roll, pick and pop combination, like watching them do that, I was levitating out of my own body. It was a thrill. And what a luxury it is to have those two guys. They're going to be tormenting opposing teams together for a very, very long time. And most nights, if you hold the best offensive players on a team to 21 points on 8 of 24 shooting with 6 turnovers, you're in business. But the Knicks are built a little different. They have built-in counters. They're a really, really well-functioning, like sensible roster-built team. That's a sentence that makes sense. And so with Brunson and Cat, their pick and roll actions, their sort of individual work outside of pick and roll kind of being totally stymied by Scottie's great work on Brunson on the ball, and Collin Murray-Boyles just making Towns' life hell everywhere except for on the glass, where Towns had 22 rebounds. That's going to happen sometimes when you're playing a little small. But to me, the sort of pivot that the Knicks made in the second and third quarter on, after Cat and Brunson just kind of were neutralized by Scottie and CMB, was that they just went through their wings, right? And the Raptors were just in no way prepared to handle OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, especially with both of them kind of having out-of-body shooting nights. In particular, Bridges was just absolutely red hot. And yeah, so they turn to their wings. They go nuts. Combined 56 points on 23 of 33 for OG and Bridges. Totally insane. And a lot of culprits here. RJ Barrett, I thought, had a really rough night defensively. And look, OG Anunoby is a strong dude. Sometimes you're going to get blown by OG Anunoby, but RJ, it was kind of a turnstile with OG all night long. Brandon Ingram, the same thing. Got absolutely worked by OG a couple of times. Same with Mikal Bridges, just blowing by Ingram in space. A couple of times where Ingram just like in semi-transition forgot to pick up Bridges, totally lost track of him. Bridges got looks out of that. Grady Dick, really tough stuff. Jacoby Walter, no good. The couple possessions where Jamal Shed or Emmanuel quickly got switched onto an OG, or Mikal Bridges did not end well either. And even Scottie Barnes had some moments where later in the game when he was kind of taken off of Brunson, was guarding OG, kind of overhelped to wall off drives on Brunson, because without Scottie haranguing the ball, there was a little bit more in terms of penetration from Brunson that was available. So Scottie had to help out there. And I thought OG timed his cuts and his drives super well. A couple times where kind of quick pass to the wing, Scottie's still rotating back over. OG's already on his way. For a team that in the first quarter of this game rotated incredibly well on the string, just totally lost it in the second half of this game. And the wings of the Knicks really, really took advantage of that. And look, the Raptors' rim protection in this game kind of evaporated as it went along too. And it's a surprise because they've been a killer rim protection team over the last little while, even without Jakob Poeltl. In the stretch between December the 21st and the 27th of January, so before last night's game, the Raptors had the fourth stingiest field goal percentage at the rim of any team in the NBA over the course of that time per clean the glass. They had been defending the rim, keeping teams away from the rim as well as they ever have under Darko Rajakovic, and the Knicks just pulled that all apart last night. They took 38% of the looks at the rim, shot 76% at the rim. OG Anunoby in the second half in particular just like feasted on drives. They kind of dispensed with the pick and roll game with Brunson and Cat. The Raptors held the Knicks pick and roll per synergy to like 0.87 points per possession, which is below their season average. You'll take that all day long. But on those drives, on those cuts where OG just kind of got loose, Bridges got loose, the Raptors just had no chance. And their rim protection was compromised because Karl Anthony Towns, for all the crap Karl Anthony Towns gets, and I think a lot of it is undue, he is an incredible shooter and he makes defenders have to consider him. And there were a couple of times, in particular on OG drives in this game, where the lack of rim protection was entirely a byproduct of Cat's gravity as a shooter. There was one possession, I think it was 70-67 or something like that in the third quarter, where OG has Brandon Ingram over on the right wing isolated. Cat just kind of like feigns coming to set a screen for OG, doesn't come all the way, but he's got Mamu on him at the time. Mamu kind of tracks over, pulls him out of rim protection position, and OG just absolutely cooks Brandon Ingram and blows by, gets to the rim. The help is too late, kind of rotating over from the weak side, and he scores. There was another one in the fourth quarter where OG gets the ball in the far left corner. He's got RJ Barrett on him, and Collin Murray-Boyles is kind of there too, because Cat is, again, sort of feigning setting a screen, not coming all the way to set the screen. It's pretty clear OG wants to drive baseline. And Collin Murray-Boyles, I think, you saw RJ and CMB talk about this after the possession. They were kind of, talking about the miscommunication. Murray-Boyles should have probably just stayed in position and kind of walled off the drive on the baseline from OG. But because Cat's there, you can see, like, you look at the clip and there's just like this micro processing thing going on in his head where it's like, oh God, I can't leave Cat. It's Cat. I can't just leave him to shoot on the wing here. And so he takes like one step towards Cat. At that time, OG bursts by and scores. And I think that was just a thing we saw routinely throughout the night after the Raptors kind of nuked the Brunson Cat pick and roll, those two-man games. They just went through the wings, and the Raptors wing defenders just didn't have the juice to stop him. And look, this is something that, the Raptors might be able to scheme around given more time. Maybe you change up the sort of the set defensive assignments. Maybe you change your help principles, whatever it is, to kind of keep Scottie Barnes closer to the rim, keep Collin Murray-Boyles closer to the rim. Like, there are things you can do. It's harder against the Knicks because the Knicks just have guys who can shoot. Josh Hart is usually the guy you'd hide your rim protector on to keep near the basket. Josh Hart's shooting the lights out of the ball this season. And the Knicks, for all the crap they get, this is a really well-built team. And I think the game last night, the way they pulled away, was as much a credit to how the Knicks are built and the quality of OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Cat shooting and the value of that as it was an indictment of the Raptors. Like, the Raptors are a good defensive team. I think it against teams with fewer offensive option, less shooting juice than the Knicks have. Like, this is one of the best offensive teams in the league for a reason. I think the Raptors' defensive horses can get them by. But when you are up against a team like the Knicks and they can kind of go down the pecking order of, okay, not going to go and test that guy, not going to test that guy, maybe don't want to test that guy, but we've got these couple of guys we can go and try with our big bruising wings. Like, you're eventually going to find a place you can exploit. And that's exactly what the Knicks did last night. I thought they adjusted super well mid-game. The Raptors were kind of left without an adjustment, in the sort of third quarter, fourth quarter as it got away from them. Again, if this was like a 2-game series, you get the 2 back-to-back. I wonder what kind of adjustments we see. If they see each other in the playoffs, they'll obviously have to find a way to scheme around this. having Jakob Pertl as an extra rim protection option would certainly help. It would be nice to see get him back and healthy at some point. No idea when that's going to happen, but again, like this started off as I think it was going to look like a crowning achievement for the Scottie CMB duo on defense with what they did to Cat and Brunson. And against most other teams, I think it would have been. But OG and Bridges, man, they're really, really good. Towns, just the mere threat of him shooting changes the dimensions of the floor, and the Raptors got unspooled and just couldn't kind of get the ball of yarn back together again in time, and you lose the game. You couple that with the offense having an off night, which we'll talk about surely as we get into the next segment, and they just were drawing dead against a very, very good team, which is a thing they've done a lot this season. Again, they're 1-9 now against the top 4 seeds in each conference. Obviously, they are one of the top 4 seeds, although tied with the Cavs now. They got the tiebreaker, though, baby. We'll get into whether that's a bad thing, whether that's something to be concerned about, or whether it just kind of is what you'd expect this Raptors struggle against the very, very best. We'll do that coming up here in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. And I've talked about it before. I hate doing my taxes. Every day I do this ad read, I dread doing my taxes more, but no longer, because TurboTax has a new service. It's TurboTax Full Service that you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February the 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Back at it here on your, what the hell day is it? Thursday episode of the podcast. And just a reminder, the Locked On Raptors Everydayer Club is open and available for you to sign up. And right now, with the trade deadline just a week away, we want to give you a free month of the new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. You got the group chat in the Locked On Discord that is going to be popping off on deadline day. To be sure, the NBA chat in there's a lot of fun. Starting to get that going a little bit. Of course, you've got ad-free episodes of the show every day to look forward to as well. Bonus content, season preview things, Locked On Sports Today. There's a lot of perks if you sign on up for just $5 a month or $50 for the year. And right now, again, you can sign up and get a month for free with the code DEADLINE. The first month, just tap the link in the show notes to learn more. The code DEADLINE will get you that first month for free for the Locked On Raptors Everydayer Club. Go and sign on up. All right, let's continue on, breaking down the loss of the Knicks and sort of the bigger picture concern that is the Toronto Raptors not performing terribly well against the league's best teams. You know, the Nuggets, they lost that game even though the Nuggets didn't have anybody in that one except for Jamal Murray, really. You lost to the Houston Rockets early on in the season. You lost to the Spurs early on in the season. You lost to the Celtics twice now, I think. I think the Knicks 3 times. It's, they haven't played the Pistons yet. We'll see. We haven't gotten a full sample of what they look against all of these really good teams, but so far it's not gone particularly well for the Raptors against very good teams, aside from their signature win of the season on Sunday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And look, if you fancy the Raptors contenders, then certainly this matters, right? Like if you think the Raptors are a team that should have designs on making the conference finals, winning the Eastern Conference, as we talked about the possibility of earlier this week, then yeah, 1-9 against the best teams, not terribly ideal. If you're realistic, though, like I don't think this should really affect your level of happiness with how this season has gone or is going or will continue to go. They've lost to the elite of the elite, yes, and that's not ideal. It's not great. You'd like to improve upon that, but they've also pretty much demolished everybody else they've played. The stretch of teams below them in the Eastern Conference have been Raptor food all season long. 3-0 against the Cavs, 1-0 against the Magic. They played the Magic again on Friday in a big one. 4-0 against the Hawks, 2-0 against the Heat. They have just been really good against these teams below them in the standings. And I mean, what was it, 2-2 against the Sixers? Some hard fought battles there. Like I think you couple that with the success they had in the sort of middle of the pack teams over in the Western Conference on their road trip. Obviously, the Kings are a team that is not good, and when they beat them, that was nice. I think it's pretty clear just based on what they've done, based on their point differential, based on now almost 50 games of sample, that the Raptors are simply just like pretty clearly like the 10th best team in the NBA. And that's a perfectly okay place to be considering where things have been in recent years and where things were hopefully going to be coming into this year. If you had said coming into this season that the Toronto Raptors are going to kind of play their way, and win the games against these teams and lose against these teams in a way that just sort of very clearly paints a picture of they are like the 10th best team in the league, I think you would have been pretty stoked on that as a great step forward for, what can come next. And look, it's also revealed some issues, right? And this is the thing, like you can have this sort of like clear delineation between where the Raptors are and where they need to get if they really want to contend. And that's like a good thing. That's like why you do this. This is why you play the competitive games, to learn about yourself, to figure out where you stand in sort of a real context where the games matter and teams are trying against you and you're trying against other teams. And this is how you learn. This is how you see what works, what doesn't, where you need to upgrade. You tinker on the margins. Maybe you make big moves. And then you do those things in the transaction cycles you have to work with. And this is how you build. This is what the Toronto Raptors did during the decade where they ended up winning a championship. They were one team in 2013-14, a team that couldn't get out of the first round, a team that had some interesting stuff, but a lot of holes. They address some of those holes the following summer. Lou Williams comes in. He's a fix to the issue of bench scoring, all this stuff. Then they get run out of the playoffs again against the Wizards, and it's like, okay, they got to recalibrate. Maybe we need a wing defender. We'll go get DeMarre Carroll. We'll go and find some insulation on the bench, whatever. And over time, these things just kind of snowball, and you go from what you were in 2013-14 to what they were in 2017-18 after smart drafting, smart moves, good trades. And then you end up in a position where you can go and make a move to become truly one of the inner circle contenders. Again, it takes time. It's not instant gratification, but like as far as first steps go, pretty thrilling stuff, even with the poor record against the very best teams. And man, it would be great to beat the Knicks. Like it's there for them. Like you saw it in the first half of this game, in particular the first quarter. Like the Raptors can hang against any of these teams. Even in the losses to the Celtics, they have been, one was like without basically anyone. So I think you kind of throw that one out anyway. The first game they played against the Celtics was like super tight for 3 quarters, and then they lost the rope. Like they're there. They have the wherewithal, I think, to win these games against good teams. We saw it in the game against the Thunder. Their defense travels. Their defense is very good. It got burned last night by the Knicks, definitely. That's going to happen against a great offensive team. And again, we're just kind of learning about where the weak spots are. And this is, I think, very informative. Like it's good to have like a clear like picture of, okay, like, yeah, they're not one of these inner circle teams. This is what they have to do to get there. They need more offensive juice. They need more shooting. Like the shooting issues have been very real, well documented. I still think there's some positive regression to the mean to be had on the whole for the team. In particular, in the case of like Grady Dick and some other dudes who've kind of had rough goes here. Emmanuel quickly still kind of in the midst of that after a really rough game last night. I think like, we've been saying for a while, they need some extra guard juice, right? They need some extra guys who can handle the ball, make things happen. When Jamal Shed has a really rough night like last night, as he's prone to do, as because he's not the greatest offensive guard in the world, if you have another guard to throw in there to just give some juice, then that's an excellent thing to have, right? Like we're learning about the stuff they need. And look, I know the Knicks are catching a lot of crap lately, but like they're a really good team with an offense that's very hard to slow down. And the Raptors just aren't there yet, right? The Raptors are not there where they can hang with like super potent offensive teams if their defense slips in any way. And that is fine. That is, again, it's all informative. It's all learning. It's all kind of filling in the gaps of what the plan is for this summer or this trade deadline to go and try and improve, right? Like this is all valuable information. It's not, again, you'd like to beat these teams. It's not about, I were saying that it's like a good thing that they're losing to these teams, but it's also not the end of the world. It doesn't doom the season to be a disaster non-success. They are already well on their way to this being a wildly successful season. They are 1 win away from matching last year's win total in January. Like it's, things are all right. It feels bad when you lose games like this, and it makes you sort of think and examine who should they be making some sort of big move out there to go and try to, move themselves into the next tier. Is there even a move out there that would do that? I don't think there really is. We'll talk about Giannis coming up later on because everyone has to talk about Giannis today. But like, barring that, which I don't really see a move there for the Raptors to pull off, I don't think that there is just like a quick, easy fix to this not great against the best teams thing. I can tell you what, Domantas Sabonis is probably not going to make you better against the best teams based on his track record. And so you live with it and accept, hey, they've made some steps. They are here. There's still room to improve. There's room to navigate with, moves and trades and whatnot and upward development and draft picks that maybe pop, whatever. This is all part of just being a real team that's trying again. And they're still very early in the phase of building themselves back up to that sort of perennial playoff 50-win type team. They're on a pretty good track, though, even with these losses to the very good teams. And so, like, I know that number gets thrown around there, and it's not pretty. 1-9 against the best teams. It does feel like an indictment. But again, they've absolutely blitzed all the other teams below them. And so it's hard. Like, I think I take more solace from that than I take sort of discouragement from the fact that they're losing against the very best teams. And again, kind of a truncated sample against those very best teams too. They haven't even played all of those teams yet. Haven't played the Pistons. Again, they've played the Thunder once and beat them. That's great. They've played the Spurs once in the first week of the season and got waxed. Sure. Okay. Let's see them again, right? Like, I think it's still a pretty incomplete picture. I don't think they're going to be a 10% win percentage team against those teams by season's end. Not off to a great start. They got to do better. They got to beat the Celtics, got to beat the Knicks, all that stuff. But and hopefully the Pistons games go all right. But yeah, man, I think, it's discouraging in a way, but it's also just like kind of part of the deal when you are obviously not one of the inner circle contenders. If they were, it'd be way more of a concern. It's like if you're the New York Knicks or the Boston Celtics or the Detroit Pistons or the OKC Thunder and you have a 1-9 record against the best teams, then yeah, ring all the alarm bells. But the Raptors are not there yet, as much as it'd be nice if they were. They're just not. Anyway, there's your cope. We'll come back on the other side, get into the good, the bad, the The Raptors are healthy again-ish for the most part, outside of Jakob Poeltl. That's very cool. We'll also get into it being a pretty bad day last night for the OG trade. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Let's be real, managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you are losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? I sure don't. I hate doing life admin, as you know well if you listen to this podcast. I'm someone who signs up for like little streaming services all the time just for like one show. Right now, my son is really fascinated by just like watching nature documentaries. It's very stimulating. It's nice. It's good. Probably good for his brain to hear David Attenborough doing in his dulcet tones some nice narration of, whatever animals are doing their thing. But I sign up for so many like BBC Earth trials and Discovery trials and all this stuff that I end up losing track. And my wife gets mad when I've watched all the things I want to watch with the boy and they're still on the credit card. And so now I can keep track with Rocket Money and cancel those subscriptions that I'm no longer using. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, back at it here, wrapping things up with the good, the bad, and the This is the way we wrap up every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, thing I didn't like, thing that's got me a little intrigued from the latest in Raptors hoops. I'll go to the good from last night. Health, getting dudes back. Collin Murray-Boyles back on the floor. Not a terribly huge stat night for Collin Murray-Boyles, but a massive night for Collin Murray-Boyles doing things that Collin Murray-Boyles seemingly just does instinctively, keeping possessions alive, incredible hands-on defense. Just like, again, going back to the way him and Scottie defended that Brunson cat pick and roll, absolutely thrilling stuff. Really exciting for the future as far as like what those two dudes are going to be capable of together. The small sample we've gotten is remarkable. Great to have him back. And yeah, Jakob Poeltl still not healthy. Not ideal. You want to get Yak in there at some point soon. We have no idea. He's technically day-to-day right now, and so we'll see. I saw him yesterday at the arena kind of working out, or seemingly on the way back from a workout up in the upper gym part of the arena. Who's to say? I'm sure they're putting in work every single day and seeing where it goes. But it is what it is with Yak. Otherwise, though, you get everyone else back. You have the full freight of dudes, the full freight of dudes. What am I saying? Words hard. it'd be nice if you got more than you got from the guys off the bench in this one. You have a lot of guys, not a lot of them gave you much of anything. And so, rough night from Jacoby Walter, kind of a rough night from Grady Dick, though. We got 11 points, got to the line a bunch. Jamal Shed, really rough stuff. Mama didn't have a terribly good game. The depth of this team is better than it showed last night for sure. And it's just nice to have everyone back. So yeah, knock on wood for all the continued health of everybody on the team. Nice to have Collin Murray-Boyles back in the mix. It was a bad day for the Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett for OG Anunoby trade. Look, this isn't to retcut anything. Like, we always knew the OG thing was going to come to a head back in 23-24. We don't have to go back and revise. Did the Raptors screw up by not keeping OG? Like, it seemed like he wasn't going to be around. It was telegraphing his intent to leave. And the Raptors were just not really in a position to commit $40 million plus to a guy who is this type of player who takes you over the top as a contender, as opposed to like helping you get to that status. That's what he's been for the Knicks, right? He's taken them from pretty good team to, oh God, they could probably win the championship if things break right. That's the type of player OG is. He's worth every penny he earned. The Raptors weren't in a great position to give him that. And it is what it is. Again, he was probably just going to walk as a free agent, so they had to do something. And look, you can quibble with whether or not they should have looked for picks versus players. I think they were more than justified to prioritize players, considering where Scottie Barnes was, how good he looked in that third season. If you could quick pivot into a team with real ready to play players around Scottie, I thought that was a good call. I'll stand by that. You can quibble with the players they got. I think RJ Barrett, way beyond my expectations as a player. He's been a lot of fun to watch. I think, obviously Emmanuel Quickley, he's got a believer in me, but he's had his ups and downs, to be sure. Last night, one of those downs. And yeah, just like watching OG do his thing, 26, 3, 5, 6 steals and 2 blocks. Like, pretty remarkable stuff, man. And he's gotten better as an offensive player. As Eric Kareen pointed out online last night, he doesn't fall down on his drives anymore. Really good guy. Really missed having that dude around. And look, I said it before the OG thing fell apart, even with the, seemingly just kind of being the way it was, he was going to be leaving no matter what. You trade that guy, you might spend 20 years looking for that guy to sort of fill in and replace. And it's been 3 years now, 2 years now. They're still looking for that guy. They've got some other fun wings. Don't get me wrong. Like, as far as wings, the Raptors are chock full, but OG is just kind of like a special, fits on any type of team type of guy, a really damn good player. And look, if I'm the Knicks, I'm not falling over myself to trade OG for Giannis and create a sort of weird, sticky fit team. OG's awesome, man. He's so good. And last night, he's clearly the best player in that trade, right? Like, it just is what it is. And again, this is not something the Raptors are really going to avoid, I don't think. He was seemingly ready to walk. Anyway, be nice to have him around. They don't. It is what it is. You move on. But yeah, pretty clearly laid bare that OG, the best player in that trade last night. It is what it is. The Giannis thing. We got to talk about it because that's what we have to talk about. People like to hear about Giannis. I know you see the Raptors kind of thrown around there as, is he the Raptors like a preferred destination for Giannis? Blah, 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 blah. They're one of the teams that can maybe throw an offer in. They have the salaries to certainly do it. I just don't really know, man. I'm also tired by this whole Giannis thing, if I'm being real. It's been like 6 years of, will Giannis be a Raptor, with the sort of fleeting hope getting sort of more and more flickery and almost out by the year. I think they've just missed their window for him to be a viable landing, for this to be a viable landing spot for him. I'm sure they'll call. I'm sure they'll make a draft pick centric offer, and maybe it's good enough, right? Like, if I'm calling up the Bucks right now, I'm saying, hey, all right, RJ, Jakob Poeltl, and all of our picks and swaps for the next 7 years. That's kind of as far as I'm going, though, because I think there are enough like big, bright, waving injury red flags with Giannis and his calf that I just don't think it's a smart, calculated risk to throw everything into that trade. All of your sort of future lifelines, Collin Murray-Boyles in particular. Like, maybe it's crazy to say I wouldn't trade Collin Murray-Boyles for Giannis right now, but like, I think with the Raptors kind of having just gotten normal again as a franchise, just sort of building and incrementally doing their thing of talent accrual, moving forward with that. Like, I just like, I think if you start getting in the business of trading out 3 or 4 guys, you get the big salary guys and like young guys to sweeten the pot, all of a sudden you are really leaving yourself with like a thin back end of the roster to pair with Giannis. And again, I think the fit with Scottie's kind of sticky and weird. Like, is that really sensible? You're not trading Scottie for Giannis at this point. Are you have to throw Brandon Ingram in there? Like, do the Bucks want Brandon Ingram? Like, does that hurt your shot creation? Does that make the fit of the team even weirder? Like, I just think it's a messy enough thing that I'm just not terribly interested in it right now. And Again, call, see if you can kind of lowball him. If you can get away with what is below market value for Giannis, you do it. And if you can't, you just don't get Giannis. And I think that's fine. I think the Raptors are in a position where they're just not quite ready for that type of gigantic influx of sort of all that comes with Giannis into this team that just might not be ready to kind of absorb that and continue forward and be a real contender for the next couple of years. And again, the health stuff with him, I'm genuinely concerned about. He's 31. He's had calf stuff pretty on and off. He's finished one playoff run since they won the championship in 2021 without getting hurt. Like at this point, because of the way the aprons work, because of how damaging it is to have a guy on your team that is injured making a max salary, I just don't know if it's worth the risk for the Raptors. Again, it's Giannis, so if they got him, obviously it'd be cool and awesome, and you get very excited about watching one of the best players alive play for your team. I don't know if it really makes sense for the Raptors right now. And this has been my stance all season long, and I still feel it even after a tough loss to the Knicks last night. And we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. It's always appreciated when you support. Of course, you can join the Everydayer Club. Right now, it's free for a month using the code DEADLINE, the link in the description of the podcast. And I do want to say, I think if you have an extra bit of money to spare and you get your free month for the Everydayer Club this month, if you have $5 or more that you have to throw around, I'm also going to put a link in the description of the podcast to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Obviously, I don't think anyone is, unless you're under a rock, is unaware as to what's going on in the United States right now, and in Minnesota in particular, Minneapolis. And we can support our pals down there with a simple gesture of financial support. I think it would be a useful thing for everyone to kind of think about doing to do their part. The Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. There's lots of other great charities, but this is the one I'm choosing to donate to. I'm going to put in a $50 donation on behalf of the podcast. If you'd like to match that, amazing. Give you a shout out of the pod, whatever. It'd be cool if we could get a little wave of support for our folks down in Minneapolis right now. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, telling a friend. Always appreciate it when you support the show. However it is you choose to support the show. And we'll be back again on Friday with Katie Heindel. We'll have Katie on for who knows. This is what we love about a Katie episode. It can go anywhere. And so we'll do that. And in the meantime, thanks for supporting the show. Join the Discord, etc., etc. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.